Today we're going Southern. Southern is a sweet potato pie. That's right, Pumpkin, move over because there's a new pie in town. She's got texture, she's got spice, and she's got everything nice. I'm going to show you how to turn this into this.
All right, what is the first thing you're going to need to make this super smooth, silky sweet potato pie? Sweet potatoes, right? Or do you need yams? I mean, come on, you go to the grocery store, it says yams, it says sweet potatoes, but they look the same. Are they the same or are they different? I've even got a can. It says sweet potatoes, but right under it, it says cut yams and syrup. So are they the same or are they different? Chances are, if you go to the grocery store here in the United States, they're all sweet potatoes. We just like to market them as yams or sweet potato yams, when in fact, a yam has a totally different skin. It's almost bark-like and it's tougher. And when you cut into a yam, the center, the flesh is white. So totally different things. And here's an interesting fun fact. In Papua New Guinea, the women grow the sweet potatoes and the men grow the yams, and they are called man yams, which I find hysterical. But enough education for the day. We're moving on to the cooking segment of our video. I have got 4 beautiful sweet potatoes here, all of about the same size. And the first thing you want to do is stab them. We need to put some little holes in these sweet potatoes. And we want to do this on both sides. I'm just going to flip them over. And the reason we're doing this is because we want them to be able to vent nicely while we're roasting them in the oven. And once we have that done, the next step is you want to rub it down with a little bit of oil. So we don't need to get freaky with it or anything, just a little bit of oil. And I actually have grapeseed oil here today, but you can use whatever type of oil you have on hand. This was the closest I had without having to get in the cabinet. And if you have olive oil or you have canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever you have on hand is absolutely fine. So once we have them all rubbed down, we're going to need a towel. I'm going to wipe my hands off. We're going to pop this in the oven at 350 degrees, and we're going to leave them in here for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I mean, you'll kind of know when they're done because they're like a potato. You'll know when it's tender. I'm going to pop these in here. Now, you could also boil these. So it'd be a little bit quicker if you did that. But what I find is then you've got to deal with the skins and you've got that whole mess. So I prefer to just do it in the oven. It's a little bit cleaner. So while those are in the oven, we are going to make a nice crispy, crumble. We're going to make a crumble to go on top. This is what's going to give it that nice, sweet, crunchy texture on top that I just absolutely love. So what I've got here is 1/3 of a cup of butter, 1/3 of a cup of flour, and I'm going to go ahead and, so I've had my butter out for just a little bit. It's not quite as soft as I like it, but that's all right. We're going to use our fork and bust it up if we don't get flour everywhere first. So we're just mixing this all together. Once we get this mixed a little bit, I'll probably just put my hands in here and do this. So the other thing I'm going to add to this is 1/2 cup of shredded coconut, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. So I'm just going to get my hands in here and do this, so we can break that butter up just a little bit. I love the smell of sugar. Sugar just makes everything better. Everyone likes to say the secret ingredient is love, but I think it's sugar. I like to put a little bit of sugar in everything. So I'm just going to finish working this through until it looks like a little bit of a crumble, and then I'm going to set it aside and wait for my potatoes to get done. All right, our sweet potatoes are done roasting in their tanning bed. They've been cooling for a little bit, and I'm just going to set them aside while they finish cooling. The next thing you want to work on is your pie crust, and I could show you how to make one of those, but I'm just not the best at it. So today we're going to let the Pillsbury Doughboy do it for us, and I know I said homemade, but it's still semi-homemade, right? It has the sweet potatoes that are fresh in there. So I'm just going to set my pie thing aside. There we go. Get our pie crust out. So I'm just going to unroll this. And I'm going to place it in my pie pan. Just kind of make sure it's pretty much even all the way around. Press it down. And I'm going to set this aside. So before we start on our filling, the next thing we need to do is work on our sweet potatoes. We need to perform some surgery. We need to cut these open and get the guts out. And we need to make sure they're really, really smooth. This is what's going to make it that smooth, silky pie I talked about earlier. So we're just going to cut these open. Let me take these out of here. Woo, hot potato, hot potato. So just right down, I got a little bit of oil on my hands from the potatoes. So just right down the center. And I'm going to cut them all at once. So that way, when I go back to the first one, maybe it's cooled down a little bit. All right. They smell good. I have to be honest, sweet potatoes, not always been my favorite thing, but this pie is delicious. So we're just going to scoop out. Let me see if I can get it where you guys can see what I'm doing here. Again, we're just scooping out the insides. This is hot. All right, I'm going to finish scooping this out, and I'll see you in just a second. All right, we're in post-op now. I have completed surgery on the last of my sweet potatoes. I've got all the guts in the bowl here. And the next thing you want to do is get your hand mixer out. This is a step that's going to make your pie completely smooth, all right? So we just want to go through and beat our sweet potatoes. All right, so after you've beaten these for a while, I want you to take a look. And see this, the stringy stuff? See those little strings on there? This is what you don't want in your pie. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna release our beaters. We're actually gonna wash these and we're gonna repeat that process like 3 more times. All right, once you have beaten the shit out of your sweet potatoes and you've gotten them about as smooth as you could possibly get them, that's when you wanna measure out about 1.5 cups. That's what we're gonna need for our filling. And to this, we are gonna add a cup of brown sugar. A teaspoon or so of cinnamon. Now I'm going to use a little bit of fresh nutmeg. Of course, I'm using my Pampered Chef Zester to do this. I love fresh nutmeg. Now, if you don't have the fresh nutmeg, of course, you can use the dry ground nutmeg. You just need about 1/4 teaspoon or so. And then I'm also going to add in about, supposed to be a teaspoon, but I think there might be 3 in there, but that's okay. Anytime it calls, this is just like the Walmart vanilla, and I actually prefer like Mexican or Madagascar vanilla because it's so much better. So usually if I'm just using like a regular store brand, like vanilla, then I go ahead and put in like 2 or 3 times that amount. So now I've got all that in there. We just want to go ahead and give this a whirl. Now, once you've gotten that all incorporated, the next thing you want to add is 2 eggs. You always want to make sure your eggs are at room temperature. And then one more thing we're going to add to this is a can of Milnot or evaporated milk. And I have got my Pampered Chef Smooth Edge can opener, and that means, if I can get it open, look at that. No sharp edges. So I'm just going to pour about half of that in there, just so maybe I don't make a big mess all over the place. And then we can go ahead and add in the rest slowly. And then you want to make sure you scrape down your sides. There's lots of goodies on the side here. We've got the sweet potato, probably a little bit of sugar. You don't want to miss any of the sugar. All right. All right, I'm going to whip it one more time. Whip it good. All right, perfect. So now we are going to go ahead and pour this in our pie crust. It looks like caramel. Makes me want to lick the bowl. Okay, so from here, we want to put this in the oven at 425, and we're going to leave it in there for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to turn it down to 350 and leave it in there for another 30 minutes, and we don't want to put our topping on just yet. Now the timer just went off, so I went ahead and pulled the pie out of the oven. And at this stage, it should be kind of like me. It should be a little jiggly in the center. So when you move it around, it should wiggle just a little bit, but you don't want it completely set. It still has about 10 to 15 more minutes to go in the oven. But this is the stage we're gonna add my favorite part, and that is the crumble. So I'm just gonna take this and we are just gonna sprinkle this all over the top. Maybe we should try this first. We don't want to put something bad on our pie. We better make sure it's good. Of course it's good. It's sugar. How could it not be good? So this crumb topping is going to be a little thick, just like me. I'm going to go ahead and dump it all on there, and then we'll just spread it out like this. All right, so back in the oven she goes, 350 for, an additional 10 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna set my little timer here. And then I'm gonna show you one more thing, which is my, I don't know, it's pretty close. I don't know if it's my second favorite or not. This might be my favorite part. So we're gonna make some homemade whipped cream. We're going to do this in Pampered Chef's whipped cream maker, and all you need is a couple tablespoons of powdered sugar and some heavy whipping cream. So we just place this right back down in here. And then we just give it a few pumps. So, well, a little more than a few. Everyone is always so amazed when I take this to parties. They just love it. So we're gonna go ahead and check it. Ooh, this is all warm. So see how it's already starting to get thick? Just a little bit more and it should be done. Make sure I got my lid on there all the way. All right, oh my goodness, look at that. Whipped cream, homemade. Not only does this taste so much better than what you're going to get at the store, but you can flavor this. You can use, a little bit of cocoa powder or some cinnamon maybe if you're doing an apple pie. So we're going to set this aside. We're going to wait for our pie to get done, and then we're going to top it off and have a bite. So now that our pie is baked and we've let it cool just a bit, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to cut a piece and try a bite. Okay, so here you have it. Homemade whipped cream, homemade streusel topping, homemade filling, and not homemade pie crust. But that's okay, because it tastes fabulous. If you guys can't tell, I snuck a bite while you weren't watching. I just love those flavors of cinnamon and nutmeg. I mean, it just says Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. I just love it. It's like the holidays on a plate. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.